have here Journey Stories, and we are talking about the migration of military peoples to and from Guam. Dr. Kimberly Kihleng and Dr. Michael Bevacqua are here. I'm the only guy without a PhD on the set tonight, so like, you know, I don't feel so, the only person, I should say. Okay, so Dr. Bevacqua, it's so good to have you back.
Thank you.
Let's shine local perspective on what we're talking about this. What, from a native Guamanian perspective and everything, what can we expect to take away from this project and the way it's presented?
Well, so the Guam Humanities Council, they always, you know, they have these local components to these national exhibits, and sort of they've really chosen a perfect focus in terms of connecting, you know, the Chamorro experience to a national American experience. Because in terms of the Chamorro connection to the United States, so much of it has to do with military service. The largest, you know, the first group of Chamorros which get to travel to the United States are those who join as sailors and primarily work as mess attendants. And that was basically, if you were a guy, you know, if you were a guy on Guam who wanted to see the world, joining the military was your best bet. And this was the easiest way to get from Guam all the way to San Diego, to Virginia, to New Jersey, to anywhere. And so, and from there, there's all these other sort of experiences where Chamorros use military service to travel to the United States, but also sort of connect their lives to the United States. Through their service in different wars, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, all of these things. And so in this exhibit, we're really telling sort of about not just sort of these inspiring stories, but also these complicating stories too. Because the Chamorro experience is not one where it's just like, you know, you sign up and then everything's fine. You know, Chamorros had to endure systematic racism, discrimination as well. And so the exhibit talks about both sort of these inspiring stories, but also sort of the complications that Chamorros experienced along the way.
Now, something just hit me, Dr. Kihleng, because, like, you know, Mike and I are roughly the same age, and so we've got a sense of perspective that when we were growing up, you know, when you thought of Guam's relationship with the U.S. military, we had such a sense of reverence, you know, and Dr. Bevacqua, you mentioned the U.S. Navy, and when people thought of, you know, like, the high points that you can become in a military career. Back then, it wasn't the Navy SEALs, it wasn't a nuclear technician, it wasn't, you know, submarine driver and everything. It was the Seabees, because Guam's got such a strong connection to the Seabees and, you know, like into military engineering.
Right.
Is that factored into the project?
Actually, we don't talk about CBs in our project. No, we haven't.
There's a topic we might want to add.
And we can talk about that in one of our programs. We'd be happy to do that. We focus on the early journeys of the military, as Michael pointed out, and look once again at mess attendants, but also the lives of stewards. We then go on to look at the reasons that Chamorros have joined the service, from patriotism to travel to citizenship to the draft. We go on and talk about those who gained elite status in the military, such as General Blas, Glenn Blas, right, Rear Admiral Pete Kumatauta.
Exactly.
Those that have really gone above and beyond, such as Martin Maglonia, who is one of the most decorated Chamorro men who were in the Army. So I mean, we try to hit on a lot of different aspects of those military journeys, but we certainly haven't hit all of them. And this is just a start for us.
Yeah, there's so many stories out there, and it really is unfortunate that you know, that you just can't tell all of them. Because, you know, you focus on this and then you can't focus on that. I mean, so but the exhibit is really packed with a lot of cool stuff.
Well, then definitely you can take the feedback that people will invariably give you and everything.
Yes, I'm
and
sure
there guarantees your grant for the next year.
Yes,
and, you know,
right. I'm sure
continued
there's
work
things
and
that
research.
people are going to say, why didn't you focus on this and why didn't you do that? And,
Well, that's part of the fun too, because
No, it is.
yeah, then you
It really
get
is.
more perspective and, you know,
Yes.
like things
Yes.
to go forward with.
Yes, I mean, and that's one of the, that's where the programming comes in too, right? Because you can't put everything in an exhibit. So we try to hit those areas that we aren't, and just to make it a richer experiences through our programming.
And I like what you said, Mike, because you were saying, like, you know, so many Chamorros, they saw military service not only as some felt obligated to give back to the country that helped liberate us from Japanese oppression, but also, you know, a lot of people saw that, you know, quote unquote, as a way off the rock. And, you know, if some people, you know, they say you're born to go to college, other people are like, well, you know, like, okay, I can join the military, you know, I can go off on my own, I can see the world and everything.
Right.
What are some of the perspectives that you feel that, what you've been able to take away from that?
It's really good because, you know, a journey, you know, if you really tell a good journey story, you can focus on the high points. but you really want to get the depth, which means highs and lows. And so we have stories about those who made it to the top. You know, people who went from being mess attendants in kitchens to cooking for presidents. Then you have the stories of those who went to the top and then descended down into PTSD, who had trouble acclimating when they came back home. And so it's really good that we have sort of all of these different dimensions, so you can really get this experience where this is not just a simple experience of, you know, people signing up for service or something like that. We have stories of those who joined the military and it actually radicalized them. It actually made them critique US military policies because they didn't like the way that they felt Chamorros were being treated by the military. To then those who said, you know, I experienced World War II and I signed my life to the US military because I felt it was my obligation. And so that's why it's a really beautiful exhibit, because it's not Chamorros as sort of, you know, cutout figures who are with flag wavers or anti-military people. It's really that Chamorros are this human community and have dealt with a lot of interesting things in a lot of interesting and creative ways.
All right, well, unfortunately, got to cut you off. We literally have 5 seconds. Where can people partake of this?
Yes, so we're going to be opening on Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m. up in the second floor of the Agana Shopping Center, right across from Express Care. Please join us, and then we'll be open there for 2 months, and then be heading up to Isla Center for the Arts and open there on August 28th.
All right, well, thank you so very much, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We are back after this, not to be missed. Please go check it out.